Good morning. Welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Friday, August 29th, 2008. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S. In London, it's 4:30 p.m. In Mexico City right now, it's 9:30 in the morning. Just to remind you, there is no broadcast this Monday. It's a national holiday in the United States. It's Labor Day. On this day in history, in 2005, Hurricane Katrina made landfall along the Louisiana coast, inundating New Orleans. Over 1,500 people died. Today's birthday, Senator John McCain is 72 years old. We're going to lead with McCain on some breaking news. He's apparently made his vice presidential selection. It's 44-year-old Governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, a mother of 5, first-term Governor of Alaska. As Alice said in Alice in Wonderland, it gets curiouser and curiouser now with Senator Obama as an African-American being the nominee for the Democrats, and for the first time the Republicans picking a woman as the vice presidential nominee. Other breaking news, this comes from Phoenix. Last night a series of fast-moving thunderstorms went through Phoenix, packing winds of up to 100 miles per hour, which is pretty unprecedented for that area. Shut the Sky Harbor International Airport down for a couple of hours last evening, and it also did some heavy damage to the Tempe State, Arizona State University campus's new $8.5 million indoor practice facility. It actually shredded the fabric roof and decompressed the structure, which had ended up being completely deflated. One other bit of breaking news comes from Turkey. An explosion at a gunpowder factory in central Turkey at about 11:50 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time in the city of Kırıkkale has killed at least 2 people, possibly as many as 20 more who are still missing. And finally, some breaking news. Yesterday we reported on Brit Insurance Company of London joining the chorus of companies protesting tax regimes in the United Kingdom, threatening to leave the UK. Yesterday at a press conference, its CEO Dane Dutill said what a lot of people have been thinking for quite some time now. This is an article from today's Royal Gazette in Bermuda, written by Jonathan Kent. At the press conference yesterday, Dutill said that Bermuda was probably not one of the jurisdictions that Brit would be thinking about in terms of redomiciling. He went on to say we need to get into a regime where we can plan 5 or 10 years in the future. This is not something you can do for the short term. It's not a 1 or 2 year fix. And then he went on to say he would not describe Bermuda as Brit's first choice. Quote, Bermuda has its issues. There is no doubt that people in Bermuda are concerned about political stability. So finally someone has gone ahead and said it, this after now many months of people thinking and pretending that things are operating as normal down there. Now to our main story, which of course is Hurricane Gustav. The principal core of the hurricane, or actually a tropical storm at this moment, is expected to move back over open water today. This is a day after bearing down on the island of Jamaica. A tropical storm hit Jamaica yesterday, drenching the island with heavy rain that triggered landslides and flooding. Gustav earlier caused 67 deaths on Hispaniola, which is the island shared by Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Texas and Louisiana have put their National Guards on standby, and New Orleans said a mandatory evacuation might be necessary. At 8 a.m. this morning, the storm was centered near Jamaica's western coast, about 100 miles west of Kingston, and moving west-northwest at about 8 miles per hour. Its winds currently are about 65 miles per hour, but forecasters say it could strengthen into a hurricane before it hits the Grand Cayman sometime later today. There were no immediate reports of casualties in Jamaica, but many people lost power. In the Caymans, some hotels closed, and those that remained open encouraged guests to leave. Forecasters say that parts of Jamaica could get 25 inches of rain, which could trigger landslide as well as cause crop damage. Forecasters caution that Gustav's path remains uncertain. According to Richard Knabb of the National Hurricane Center, it's simply impossible to determine exactly where and when Gustav will make final landfall. The chances of hurricane-force winds within the next 5 days are essentially the same at any individual location from the Florida Panhandle coast westward through the entire coastline of Louisiana. Louisiana is not taking any chances. The governor, Bobby Jindal, has declared a state of emergency. Texas Governor Rick Perry has also issued a declaration of disaster. New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin said he would order a mandatory evacuation of New Orleans if forecasters predict a Category 3 strike, or maybe, he said, even a Category 2 within 72 hours. Gustav may reveal whether insurers have done enough to limit risks of covering offshore oil rigs in the wake of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. AIG and Zurich Financial Services Group and Liberty Mutual Group are among insurers that raised prices fivefold and capped losses after the two hurricanes caused record damage at about $8 billion in 2005. Insurers are betting on a better outcome this time as Gustav threatens the 5,000 oil drilling sites in the Gulf of Mexico, where about 20% of U.S. production is represented. Katrina and Rita destroyed 113 platforms and damaged 457 pipelines. Insurers now typically limit coverage to $500 million in storm losses for all of a company's offshore assets over the 6-month season. According to one underwriter, it was estimated before Hurricane Katrina that premium in the Gulf of Mexico was $300 million a year. If you looked at the sum of those two losses from Katrina and Rita versus the premium generated in the Gulf, it was obvious that the formula was broken. ExxonMobil is continuing preparations in anticipation of Gustav to evacuate all personnel working in the Gulf. The company said that all of its chemical plants and refineries along the Gulf are being readied for the arrival of Gustav, adding that normal operations are still continuing. And the projected path, if we can bring that up, has federal and state officials shipping loads of emergency supplies and evacuation equipment to the U.S. Gulf Coast. FEMA and other federal agencies, as well as the American Red Cross, have workers on standby. Everybody claims that they are much more prepared this time. And we'll just bring up the map of the satellite taken of the Atlantic Ocean. If we can do that now, we can see Gustav just to the left or the west of Jamaica. Tropical storm Hannah just to the right of Gustav is expected to intensify into a hurricane sometime later this weekend. And again, off to the east toward the Cape Verde Islands, the yellow tropical depression has a 25% chance of developing into something serious, where further to the east, just off the Cape Verdes in the orange, is a depression rated at about a 50% probability of expanding. So much for our hurricane news. And now, as promised, we have our interview with Aon's Executive Chairman of Aon Global Re, Michael O'Halloran, which we taped about an hour and a half ago this morning. We'll play it in its entirety. It's about 10 minutes long. With us today, Michael D. O'Halloran on the phone. We're speaking to him from Chicago. Mr. O'Halloran, of course, is well known in the industry. He's the Executive Chairman of Aon Re Global. And so obviously the Aon Benfield acquisition has been in the news, and Mike has graciously consented to be available to us to have a few-minute chat with us, so we'll get him on the phone. Mike, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Frank. How are you?
Good, good. We appreciate you being with us so early, and I guess let's get right to the heart of the matter, if you will. You guys made some pretty big news last week. Benfield is certainly one of the biggest independent brokers, and the fact that you made an acquisition had long been rumored, so you finally pulled the trigger on it, if you will. What made it attractive for you?
Well, there's a number of features to the combination, and it truly is a combination, a merger of equals between, I think, two great reinsurance intermediaries. First and foremost, we found that our business is tremendously complementary. There are minimal overlaps in the clients. There are minimal overlaps in really key personnel. Actually, we view this merger as a strength-on-strength opportunity. They have great presence in the Florida and Southeast property cat marketplace, combined with our big account approach in terms of major accounts throughout the U.S. They have been concentrating, like we have, in high-growth markets like Asia, Central and Eastern Europe, Africa, and Latin America.